Nefarious, and I am here for another league report, week 5 league report, and I am honored to have a special guest with me this week. You may all hate him, I assume so. He is the owner of the 4-0 Chiefs. Is it 4-0?
5-0.
Or 5-0 Chiefs? Oh, pardon me. Um, Go ahead and introduce yourself.
It's Finn. What's up, guys?
As you know, he also does the podcast for PML, does great work there, and he decided that he would hop on one of my league videos, my league reports. So, Finn, my first question is, what are you going to do with this new fame and publicity that you're getting from coming on my show?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is tell everybody to follow my SoundCloud for my rap career, like I do on Twitter anytime one of my tweets go viral. And I'm going to call my mother. My mother. That's what you call him, right? Your mother.
Nah, my ma.
Listen.
Ma. You got to say ma.
Ma? Come on. Nobody says ma. Come on, Mark.
No.
Can't say his right. He says, then he said hello to your mother for me, huh? His thing. That was mother.
Well,
New York.
I'm not from Boston exactly. I'm down south, and we got more of a ghetto way of talking. So we don't even say mother. We say ma. Hey ma.
Okay.
Hey ma.
Okay. I respect that.
All right. So the first thing I want to do, I usually dive into the stats, and go through the top 5. But I think I'm gonna skip that for this video. What we're gonna do is go through the league content that was put out for the MVP race and early prediction as to who's going to win it for each team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the list. I'm going to pull up the list now. I'm going to go through the list. You're going to give me your opinion on it, and then we'll discuss what do you think the likeness of them actually becoming MVP is, like a percentage-wise.
Gotcha. Now, these percentages may not all add up to 100. Just throwing that
Oh
out.
no. No. We're not anal on here. We usually talk out of our ass anyway, so that's the only anal. All right, so yeah, exactly. First we're gonna start with your favorite user and your favorite team in PML, the New England Patriots. I don't know if you have the blog up right now, but the prediction is Devin White.
All right. Well, Devin sitting at 31 tackles, got some sacks, he's got some interceptions. He's versatile. I saw the versatility when you played me last season. So the downside is he doesn't even lead his own team in interceptions. Levante David does. And actually, no. I'm looking at sacks. I saw 4 sacks. So, yeah, I'm tripping. I only have the AFC West, but he may lead his team in interceptions. Let me see here. He's got 2. He does lead his team in interceptions. He has 2 sacks. Or not 2 sacks, 3 sacks or something like that. Man, I'm tripping on my stats. I'm starting off real weak here. This Orange Vanilla Coke took it straight to the dome. 3 sacks, 2 interceptions. Once again, very versatile, but right now those just aren't MVP numbers in comparison to the offensive production that some of these guys are putting up. So I would say a low percentage, less than 5 for sure, but nonetheless a very annoying player to play against. Very talented, real speedy, stops the run well, picks off passes 20, 30 yards downfield. So I love him, but a low percentage for Devin.
Yeah, and I after that first go about for you, I think I'm gonna actually stop the stream now and see if I could bring somebody else on. It was nice having you.
You know what? It's funny because I make fun of the Natural for scripting his stuff. And right there's the reason why you should script things. Is because I was just talking flustered and trying to get the stats up at the same time. I was like, Vic Beasley. I was like, wait a minute. I'm looking at sacks, idiot.
Yeah,
So,
Vic Beasley
you
is
know,
going off as far as sacks
and
for
you
me.
don't have Levante David. I had the AFC East stats up. I didn't have the Patriots stats up. So when I was talking about Levante David, I was like, wait a minute, he's not on this team. Whatever.
All right, so now we're gonna go on to the New York Jets. We got wide receiver Julio Jones. That was the selection there. How do you feel about that?
Um, Probably the second hardest position to win MVP at, if it's not the defensive side of the ball, is wide receiver. Because very often, if the receiver's playing high enough to get MVP, the quarterback is probably going to be favored there. Um, Julio's nice. Obviously, the big target on that team outside of Shavers, the rookie from Bama, I think he's a speedster, isn't he?
Yeah,
Pretty superstar guy.
he is a speedster. One of the
A big guy, and I'm sure he helps Julio's case here, but only 2 touchdowns through 5 weeks is not MVP numbers for a wide receiver. I'm going to go less than 2% here for Julio, though that is definitely another. I mean, that's a very talented receiver duo. They picked up Kelsey in free agency, so very talented core there for the Jets, but no MVPs.
Yeah, I feel you on that, especially with the whole quarterback to wide receiver thing. Wide receiver is one of the toughest positions, including defense. Defense is probably dead last, then wide receiver is right above it, if anything. It's so tough to win MVP as a wide receiver. So I don't see a high likeness. I can't speak. Never mind. I can't see him winning the MVP is what I'm basically trying to say. It's going to be a very low average on that. So we're going to move on to the Dolphins, and the pick is actually the new signee over there in Tre'Davious White. How do you feel about that?
Depending on if he's played his last game, if he's played 5 or he's played 4 games, Tre'Davious White is averaging at a minimum an interception a game. So a cornerback sitting at 16 interceptions on the year, that'd be real solid. But once again, we're talking about a Madden league, not an NFL league. So a corner getting 16 interceptions would absolutely have a case for MVP in the NFL, but not in PML, where linebackers are far and away going to have more interceptions than him. But very talented pickup for them. One of the big free agency surprises for the Dolphins for White to be let go. So, but he's shown his worth for that contract, and he's playing well. I would say 15% for Tre'Davious. If he keeps his pace up, he's got a shot.
And it really speaks to the level of play of Tre'Davious at this moment because in a linebacker heavy interception league, they got a cornerback that's leading the team. You know what I mean? So he's not being usered. He's not user lurking with Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White is just basically making the plays himself. And I got another question. How do you feel about that little sleazeball contract that he gave Tre'Davious White to have him for 1 year, and now he's got him locked up in discussion? He could either sign him himself or franchise him. How did you feel about that move? Is it smart, or is it, taking advantage unrealistically of Madden?
Now that gets into the convo of sim leagues and
Yeah.
some leagues limits of what you can sign for a player in free agency. Some don't, and I think that one of the big things that we struggle with teams, all the owners, is their money. But the fact that he had the money to go out and get a guy for that contract, it says something about his management. Maybe he's earned it. Maybe he's sat and watched free agents that he really wanted go by in the past, so that he could take a bite at somebody he really, really liked, like Tre'Davious, at a real position of need. I mean, next to Baker, that's a nasty corner core, you know what I'm saying? And he probably still has Minka. So that's just a real talented secondary, which obviously is a focal point for him. I think the big thing is if he has the money to even sign him after the 1-year contract, because he might end up right back in free agency, if he doesn't have the money. So I think it's a high risk, high reward kind of deal. If he has the money, kudos for him. Once again, we all make risk based on cap and have to deal with it. I let Justin Houston go. I traded away Kareem Hunt, and they both went to the Bills and beat me week 1 of last year. So, that's the risk you're taking. So,
Thank you for trading Kareem Hunt to the Bills, by the way. Thank you.
not a problem.
You're my favorite. So let's move on. We'll go over to the Buffalo Bills, who we were just speaking about. And Mr. Cheeseville, Tremaine Edmonds, is the MVP of choice. That's a no-brainer, obviously, and he's playing at a high level again this season. The Madden glitch.
Well, he's already won it, right? Best linebacker in the league. Didn't he win MVP season 1 for you guys?
I believe so. I have to go back, but I believe he did. I know last year he didn't win best linebacker. He wasn't even in top 3, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard once he gets on the radar of people. But I mean, stats-wise, he's an absolute animal. Attribute-wise, he's an absolute animal. He
Yeah,
literally is a cornerback in a defensive end's body playing middle linebacker.
it's nuts.
It is absolutely nuts. So I'm gonna say 40%. Most of that being because he's won it before, not so much where he stands now. He's only sitting at 5 interceptions. Once again, that's a good pace. Actually, he may not even be at 5. I think he might be up
He's
to
at 4.
4. It depends on where when it was written and whatever the case may be. But he's very talented. Rob unfortunately has a division of interception throwers. So it's up to you, right? If you can figure your game out, then maybe maybe he won't win MVP. But I think let's go 40% for Edmonds if he plays like we know he can play.
Yeah, and based on the last game that I just played him in, I think I'm gonna hand him that MVP. I just gave him 3 interceptions like it was candy.
He had 4. You gave him Jesus. But
yeah. So he had most of his interceptions against me, so I butted up that stat line for him. We're gonna move on to the AFC North. We got William Jackson, the cornerback. He's playing lockdown for the Bengals. He's been their best corner for years now, and that was the pick as far as MVP for the Bengals.
I would say a big MVP for the Bengals team is their just defensive line in general. They're a real tough team up front. I literally just got done playing them. It was a close one. I think it was a 17-12 game. I mean, he's got Jordan Willis playing middle linebacker, who's normally an edge guy, but he's got him playing linebacker. He's got Malik Jefferson back there, who's got 3 interceptions himself. So it's no surprise that William Jackson's kind of reaping the benefits of long third downs, as well as a quick pass rush that forces the ball up. So he's playing well. The downside is everybody on that team's eating. I mean, there's 3 people on that team that have 3 interceptions. Jackson sits at 4.
It's not a big
exactly
difference.
A tackle machine. So I think that while he's a very talented player, I'm saying less than 5%, but nonetheless, a key part of a really good defense.
Yeah, and my MVP pick was actually the runner-up in this blog. Carl Lawson, 7.5 sacks already. If he stays healthy, he's an absolute force. You just played him. The guy gets back there like it's nothing. Like there's not even an offensive lineman.
Right, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the Browns, and we're gonna. We obviously know who the pick is. If he could put him in at wide receiver, if he could put him in at linebacker, safety, he would do it. Baker Mayfield. Maybe his stats are a little boosted from a certain game, but we won't talk about that. How do you feel about Baker Mayfield?
Baker's a little ahead of the game in terms of touchdowns. I don't know where he ranks among the league. I think that really depends. He's had 11 touchdowns through like 5 games. And that could turn around really quickly. That can in his favor against him. He does play in a really tough division. Got some talented defenses that he has to deal with. So the fact that he put up the numbers he has with Baker last season and even so far this season is a testament to his ability. So I would say Baker's consistently one of the top 5 guys in the league in terms of the top 50 list. So I would say let's give him a 50% chance. He's not quite there. You keep those turnovers down, and get that touchdown interception ratio up. And I think he may have himself a shot at it. So I like Baker.
Yeah, Baker's usually a solid choice. Always in an MVP race. Uh, like I said, well, Kyle Schumer's got more yards and one less interception. Bacon, you might want to step up your game. So now let's go over to, oh God, let's go over to the natural and his cheese back, TBJ. What do you got to say about McCheese over there?
There's a lot of cheese backs. So it's not just TBJ. There's a lot of really talented running backs. But right now, TBJ is a head and shoulder ahead of them all, especially in the yards department. I think that with the team that's shown its dedication to running the football, and its willingness to get stats to those important players like Tony Brooks-James, I think that there's a big chance. He's had a great season with Alex Collins. I think he already won MVP with a running back before. I'd say with the state of the touchdown interception ratios for quarterbacks at the moment, I could see Tony in the 80-85% chance at getting
Yeah.
MVP just because of how big of a threat he is, and if no quarterback truly isolates himself from the pack, Tony may run away with it. Unintended.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's it's just you can't match it. I mean, Ravens, he's got one of the best run games without TBJ. He could probably take Sony Michel and make him a 95 overall by next year. It's just he knows how to run the ball. One of the better running games, right next to the official Mole. That's the other guy I think about when it comes to the running game. It looks like this new the new 49ers user is actually pretty good on the ground as well, but we'll get to him. Let's move on to the user list Steelers, who had a user and now no longer has a user thanks to that AFC North and their ruthlessness. Specifically, Bacon. Thank you for that. How do you feel about their pick, Artie Burns, the cornerback?
Zero. There's a
Zero.
0% chance that Artie
Yeah.
Burns wins MVP next team.
Yeah. Let's move on. We're all set with that.
0% chance. Yeah.
0%.
We got 32 of these. I just realized. So we might want to
Yeah,
skip through the bums.
let's skip through the bums. Houston, Texas, DeAndre Hopkins. We're not gonna really talk about it. It's a computer team. Nobody really cares.
The Texans is a computer team now?
Well, we haven't heard from the Texans user and Djax in a while, and I think JT might even be looking for a user for that team. I'm not sure, but I think he might be. Let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts. We got N'Keal Harry. How do you feel about N'Keal Harry? Quickly.
Mahomes is negative in the touchdown interception ratio. I don't see a situation where this passing game really opens itself up. He does have 4 touchdowns in 4 games, but nothing in the stat column is really pushing N'Keal away. So I would say a less than 10% chance.
Yeah, and you were right to trade away Patrick Mahomes, it's looking like, because he went to Indy and he ruined that passing game. One of the best passing games last year is now gone. It disappeared with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it's the Madden 20 curse.
Might be hitting us a year early. 'Cause it was a real struggle after the February patch to throw the football with Patrick Mahomes. It really was.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so now we're going to move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of my favorite players is Njoku. Yannick Njoku, the defensive end. Another problem like Carl Lawson. He's up there in sacks. I believe he leads the league right now with 12 sacks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How do you feel about him?
I think right now he's probably second on my list on the defensive side of the football on guys that could be getting the MVP. So I'd say that's fairly high. Now, because he's on defense, he has to keep this legendary pace up. Um, 12 sacks in 4 games equates to what? I mean, that's got to be 48 sacks
Yeah.
on the season average pace. So if this pace continues, I think that's a 80% chance to win MVP. To go 40, almost 50 sacks, um, depending on if he's played 4 games or 5 games here. But that's phenomenal football. But I don't think the pace continues. So let's go with around 75% chance.
Yeah, I definitely like him. He definitely makes that Jacksonville defense go. Um, as you know, if you have a good defensive line, you could hide bad corners. You could hide anything pretty much in the defensive backfield. That defensive line is key. Let's go ahead and move on to the Titans, and we have Derrick Henry. Last year he disappeared for some reason. When they made the playoff run, he was number one, the reason, carried the team on his back. He disappeared. Now he's back, but they're still not winning. How do you feel about Derrick Henry?
I think Derrick Henry. I mean, he's second in the league in rushing. He's got 2 less touchdowns than TBJ, but he is a big back. He can get those goal line touchdowns that TBJ might be subbed out for. So kind of the same scenario. Keep up the pace with the rushing yards. Keep the yards per carry up. Get the touchdowns up. Get involved in the passing game. And there's a good chance that if these quarterbacks don't thrive, that it'll be between him and TBJ. And getting the touchdowns in the 15-plus range is the way that he's got to do that. So he's already got 7 through 5 games. So keeping that up is crucial. I'd say about a 35% chance for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's the key to that offense. As you know, the Titans usually sucks with Mariota. Must be his own little curse. Kind of like anybody that touches Patrick Mahomes. Maybe with a different quarterback back there, he's able to get a little bit of a passing game, and he's able to return to his first season form. Maybe he just hasn't grown with the rest of the league. We're going to move on to the Denver Broncos. We got Von Miller as the pick. Given that he's on the defensive side and he's not even close to leading the league in sacks right now, I don't believe. Just a quick percentage. Yeah, a quick percentage.
I say as many sacks as he has. So 4%. There's a 4% chance.
That's a good decision right there. We're gonna move on to the Chargers. We got the new user, and the old user couldn't use Melvin Gordon, but this new user is having a good season. And Melvin Gordon, I believe, is in the top 10 in rushing right now. How do you feel about him as far as MVP?
I think he was a big unknown to the league, so he took a big loss to the National recently. We're looking in the 10s to 15%. I haven't played him yet. I don't know how real that rushing attack is, but another power back, not as powerful as Henry, but a guy that could get some goal line touchdowns. He's the only rushing touchdown guy on that team, so as long as he gets force fed a little bit, keeps the yards up, there's a shot, but I don't see him being even a top 2 running back in the league.
Yeah, and he's actually tied for second on touchdowns. Averages 6 yards a clip, which is kind of low for PML standards. Let's move on to Andrew Luck real quick. That was a pick for your own Kansas City Chiefs. How do you feel about that?
Luck is dealing with a couple of receiving issues. Obviously, his top 2 guys that were suspended through the first couple games, and he started out 4-0 since touchdown interception ratio 4-0. Since then, he's gone 4-6. So a rough stretch as Tyreek Hill came back. He got hurt. A couple situations where balls got tipped up in the air, and there was just some tip ball picks that were causing some issues. So, if he wants a chance, he's gotta increase. He's gotta get that ratio as big as possible. He's had a decent completion percentage. Just been, the important games, he's kept the turnovers low, but this offense hasn't scored more than 20 points in 3 weeks. so that doesn't give me much confidence. So I would say I'd say 20% for Andrew Luck. If I mean they have the firepower, right? We have
Yeah.
the firepower to produce an MVP quarterback, but getting it all healthy, putting it all together, may take some time. So I don't see it.
Seeing how shitty your offense is performing and how shitty my offense always is, this little broadcast we're doing right now, it's like the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other with the damn offense. Um, let's move on to the Oakland Raiders. A favorite in the league. He takes a beating and he keeps coming back. I commend him for that. He is a trooper for sure. His pick is Amari Cooper, the wide receiver. Just a quick little thing on him. How do you feel?
0 touchdowns, 0 MVPs.
There you
Simple as
go.
that.
Simple as that. Keep it simple, stupid, right, Key?
Right,
Uh,
right.
let's move on to the NFC. We got Eagles running back. Um, so basically, what happened with the Eagles is he got a lot of heat for Terry McLaurin, his cheese wide receiver. So he said, "Know what? This season, I am going to cheese the shit out of my cheese running back, Jalen Hurts."
Hmm.
If I looked at his stats, he's Jalen Hurts responsible for at least 80% of his offensive output. It's like he's going hard with Jalen Hurts. Last time I checked.
I know he's suspended now. I can't even see him on the roster because he's been moved to kicker
Oh
spot.
yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah, I would say there's with the suspensions, he's probably have to tone it down. I'd say 40%, just because he's going to get behind the guys that aren't suspended a little bit. But Hurd is an animal, so
yeah, he is an animal at 6'4", 240, and you got a 92 speed. It's unfair sometimes. Now let's move on to the Cowboys, and with Zeke Elliott being injured, it brought the emergence of the Cheese Brothers, which is Jermichael Hasty and TBJ. Jermichael Hasty belongs to the Cowboys, and he was the MVP pick for the blog. How do you feel about that? And he's another one I think is
uh,
suspended. I don't see him here.
well, Zeke's back.
So maybe that. Yeah, no,
So
I see him here. I see him here.
so Zeke's back. So I don't see a situation where Hasty becomes the full-time back. I think Zeke has obviously been Anthony's go-to. Um, so I expect Hasty to just fall back in the rotation, catch screens every once in a while, and call it a day.
Yeah, what an advantage it is to have a nice fast running back, especially if you know how to use him. And he was before Zeke came back, he's going at 9.2 yards a run, so that's ridiculous. Only a couple touchdowns, which is kind of odd. Let's move on to the Redskins. The MVP pick is actually the rookie quarterback, um, David Mills. Maybe no, Davis Mills or David Mills.
It's Davis, and he's 4 touchdowns to 10 picks. It's a 0% chance. I think if anybody, Darius Geis on that team has a chance, but
Yeah,
not
maybe
Davis.
he gets rookie of the year, possibly,
Who
but
knows?
definitely not MVP. I don't think he's in a conversation. Giants has the new user. Evan Ingram is the pick. Just a little quick percentage on him because I don't think we've seen enough.
10%.
At 10% on that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. He was very patient with Murray. Hasn't thrown a lot of touchdowns. I don't really see it much.
all right, fair enough. And now let's go to our favorite user in the league. Um, the All-Pro JJ is going to be the MVP Vikings, and JJ wasn't even the pick for MVP on this blog. It was actually the linebacker, the rookie linebacker, Dorian Etheridge. How do you feel about Etheridge?
6 picks is solid. That's higher than um, some of the other linebackers that we've looked at so far. A couple sacks in there can't hurt, but it's just going to be tough. He doesn't. I don't think he leads the league linebacker wise in interceptions. I think
Yep,
he's at least 3 behind, probably like CJ or something. So
exactly. CJ
it's
CJ has
I'd say
9,
15. Yeah,
15%.
yeah, I'd say 15 at the best. Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, he's second. He's tied for second with a corner right now, and CJ Mosley is ahead of everybody else with 9. So he's 3 behind. Let's move on to the Packers. Surprisingly, the Packers got a little competition in the NFC North, and it showed up on his record. Once going undefeated for going undefeated deep into the season, that is no more ever since there's been better competition in the league. But his pick is the wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Nice big wide receiver with good speed. How do you feel about him?
Not confident. Not confident. Less than 5% at best. You find out. I think he says some really poor team management, man. The running backs, Amir Abdullah, not a flashy running back. The quarterback has no answer for that position. Uh, MVS is the only startable receiver on that team. After that, it's Tyler Boyd and a 90-year-old Randall Cobb. So I think without building a good team around them on the offensive side of the ball, there's not much of a chance at all.
Yeah, and he still has Devonte Adams, but I don't know what's going on with him. He's nowhere close to as productive as MVS. I'm gonna call him MVS for short. MVS is actually second in the league with yardage, but he is averaging almost 26 yards a catch, so he might want to pay attention to that as he goes forward. The Lions pick is actually an ex-Patriot. It was a difficult move for me. I did love having him on the defensive side of the ball, but linebacker Devondre Campbell is the pick there, and I don't think he's anywhere close to leading the league in interceptions or any stats. So if you want to give a quick percentage on him.
Well, that 92 zone definitely flew under the radar. You did some work with him, but he's going to have to step it up. He's low on the numbers that are important for that position for MVP. So I'd say a less than 5% chance, but a very talented linebacker nonetheless.
Oh yeah, he's very talented. It was nice having him. You don't even have to use him pretty much, and he covers a lot for you. We're gonna move on to the Bears. Another user, one of my favorites. Um, he's got Khalil Mack as the pick here for MVP. And how do you feel about Khalil Mack?
Well, he's the best player on the team, um, and he's got plenty of time on defense. Brandon Wimbush is at 1 touchdown to 21 picks, so he's got plenty of time to get snaps. But I don't see Khalil Mack putting up the numbers. I think he's right where Von Miller's at. Very low percentage chance of getting it.
Yeah, he's only got 4 sacks. It's kind of odd. You'd think Khalil Mack would be up there in sacks, even if without being usured. Maybe it's the defense he runs. I don't know if he runs a 3-4-4-3 or exactly how he schemes it up. But it's a surprise that top rusher like that is only sitting there with 4 sacks, especially with all the playing time, as you said, he gets. Now we'll move on to the NFC South. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right now, the projected MVP is Quan Alexander. Um, Again, I don't think this is a guy that's up there in the stat sheet. I think he only has 4 interceptions. Yeah, he only has 4 interceptions. He's not even leading the team in tackles. So this was kind of an odd pick, if you ask me.
It seems kind of built like how my team is built in terms of there's no real standout guy.
Yeah,
The offense is balanced. They like to run. They like to be patient with their throwing. Um, the defensive side, everybody contributes, and it normally results in very low stat-wise games because games are put away fairly early for the Tampa Bay. So while I don't see Quan being more than 5 to 10% chance of being the MVP, definitely a talented team. Just a guy that isn't gonna go out and stat pad. He has a system. He runs it over and over again.
Hmm.
Very curl heavy offense, and that's just not something that ends up creating the MVP numbers.
Yeah, and the runner up for this, which I would say would have been the favorite, is Jameis Winston. Maybe this was before he played his recent game, but you look at Jameis, I think he's top five in the league as far as yardage. A pretty good TD to interception ratio, 8 to 5. Well, that's pretty good for PML numbers, but you know, definitely, I think that would have been a better option there if he continues his pace. Let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons, he's up and down. He took advantage of me week one, played a very good game, didn't have any turnovers, and then he plays the Vikings and has 7 picks. But his projected MVP is Matt Ryan. How do you feel about Matt Ryan? I believe he's in the top 10 as far as stats.
I don't think without a positive ratio that he has a chance, and he doesn't have
Yeah,
one now. So,
yeah. That
so
game, that recent game, definitely
right,
screwed
right.
him there.
Went from 6-4 ratio to 6-11.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Carolina Panthers. Favorite JT. Thank you, JT, for all the work you put in. Thank you for handing out wins. I'm just messing with you, JT. So his projected MVP is going to be the safety, Amari Burney. Um, First time I'm hearing about the name. I haven't even looked at his stats. How do you feel about Amari Burney? He's probably a low percentage. But go ahead and give us your take on that.
Florida Gator, he's a real quick downhill tackler, not much in coverage, and that's represented pretty much in the interception column. I have a running theory that JT loses on purpose so that in the second half of his games he can work on the draft class or some other stuff for the league. So extra time in his day. No, it is zero chance for Amari Burney. He just doesn't
Yeah.
have any sacks or interceptions. He's the tackle leader for that team, but I don't really see him shining.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think tackles get you an MVP or even come close to getting you an MVP. We're gonna move on to the Saints right now. The Saints user Chums. He had finals, and so he's been a busybody. But so far his pick is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is almost at 6.5 yards per carry, couple touchdowns. How do you feel about Alvin Kamara?
I think if Alvin Kamara's gonna have a chance, he needs to really be used. Right now, he's just not being used. 9 receptions for Alvin Kamara isn't nearly enough. He's not getting touched. Goal line carries. Obviously, he may not be on the goal line to get carries, but 2 touchdowns through 4 or 5 weeks isn't going to do it for him. So
Hmm.
I don't see a big chance for Alvin, but a very talented guy nonetheless.
Yeah, if you're a Saints user, that's somebody you want to ride, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Um, let's move on to the 49ers, the newcomer, turning some heads. He's playing really well, just took down the Seahawks. His MVP candidate is Anthony Lifton, who I noticed has 6 interceptions as a corner right now.
Yeah, it all kind of comes down to who he's playing so far in his schedule. I haven't peeked it too much. I don't know kind of level guy. I mean, a win against Seattle is definitely a big win. Perennial playoff guy for the NFC. So, I mean, he continues to pace 6 touch interceptions in 4 or 5 games. That's a good pace to be. He's very similar to Tre'Davious White, so I'll put him in the same column, 20-35% there. But very talented team nonetheless. But you would like to see a little bit more from their offensive side, though. They need to have teams trying to pass their way back into games against them, so that corner can reap the benefits.
Yeah, and he's the winner of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a stud in the league. But he's, like I said, he's pretty good at the running game. So if he's able to keep that defense in pass-heavy situations, then maybe he has a chance. But that's still a slim chance, especially on the defensive side of the ball if you're not a linebacker. We're gonna move on to the Seahawks, who actually just took on the 49ers. Uh, their obvious MVP is Salvin Ahmed. Uh, Came into the
The
league, took the
reigning,
league by storm. How do you feel about Ahmed?
reigning defending
MVP.
heavyweight MVP of the league. Not having the season he had last year. I mean, he's at 7.9 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns through 5 games. He's not on pace to match what he did last time. I think once again people's eyes are open to that. But very talented guy nonetheless. I think I'd like to see him get the football more in his hands. He only has 10 receptions, so I would say once very similar to the linebacker for the Bills is you get a little bit of percentage for having already done it. So let's go 60%. He can turn it around. That's a division that he can figure things out.
Yeah,
So
keep feeding that
very
man the ball. He makes that offense go. Maybe with the addition of Josh Rosen, he's been trying to get a feel of Josh a little bit, and maybe that's what's leading to Ahmed only having 67 touches while everybody else has about 20 or 30 more touches than he does. Um, we're going to go ahead to the Rams, who started off real well, just took a tough loss to the Cardinals, which nobody saw coming. The actual MVP prediction went out on injury in that game. Todd Gurley, who was having a good season until he got injured.
Yeah, looks like somebody stole Todd Gurley's rib. It's broken, and 0% chance for an injured man to win MVP. Sorry about it.
Yeah, he would have had a chance too, and you would have had a chance to make the playoffs, Key. But I don't think it's happening now. Um, Cardinals, we got David Johnson. Just a quick little rundown on him. I gotta check to see where he even is in rushing in the league. So that's not a
If
good
David
sign.
Johnson is the third best running back in a division, that's a freaking tough division. I'd say a 5% chance. He's not having the best year, but he's so talented in a division that's chock full of 90 plus overall guys that run it back.
Exactly. Yeah, and David Johnson, I mean, he has no issue using him. He almost has 100 touches already as far as on the ground. He doesn't really average the yardage at all, and he only has a couple touchdowns, so it's a real slim chance. But that does it for the MVP blog. It was a nice little thing to look into. Um, so the favorite pretty much is, I believe the highest percentage actually went to Edmonds. I mean, TBJ. TBJ was the highest percentage, and then I think it was Edmonds after that, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah, up there.
TBJ is head over everybody else as far as MVP, and I agree with that. Nobody could seem to figure out how to stop him or what to do to stop him.
Hope he gets hurt.
Don't we all? Don't we all? Um, so let's now we'll do our team dive. We're gonna actually first team we're gonna do is your Kansas City Chiefs. So what
Yep.
we'll do a little team dive, and then maybe we could ask a few questions about the team, how you have it built, and all that good stuff. If you don't mind giving up
Yeah,
top
man.
secrets.
No, no worries.
All right, we're gonna start with the decision to trade Patrick Mahomes for Andrew Luck. You are patting yourself on the back right now. I could hear it already. How do you feel about that?
I mean, luck hasn't been perfect, and Mahomes didn't have a bad year in terms of stats. I think I was somewhere in the 30 touchdowns,
Hmm.
low teens interceptions, but those crucial moments where you need a high pass, you need an accurate post, you need an accurate corner route. Those were the throws that were really struggling, especially on the move, which is something that Patrick Mahomes is kind of known for. So I wanted to go out. I wanted to get a guy who's way more accurate in the mid-range. Yeah, I'm gonna pay for it a little bit by throwing like not being as accurate, being able to throw the ball downfield. But everybody's so keyed in on the downfield now that it's time for the game to evolve. Um, yeah, there's going to be some opportunities where I catch people in bad coverages and get the deep ball, but instead of looking to that, we're looking to try and refine the mid-range game and then open up the deep pass with the run. So Andrew Luck's talented. He's mobile. I didn't lose a lot of mobility despite the age and the regression.
Hmm.
And finally, he's cheaper. That was the big thing. Is Mahomes is far and away the better guy, star dev after the good year that he had, but he was in a franchise year, needed money, so went with the cheaper option. And so far, it's paid off. We're 5-0 on the year so far. So.
Yeah, and it was a good decision as far as your cap and keeping certain guys, getting rid of certain guys. Um, like you said, you weren't enjoying Patrick Mahomes. Andrew Luck is a solid quarterback as well. Maybe it's a release thing. Maybe there's something inside Madden that makes Patrick Mahomes miss key important throws, but you can't go wrong with either or. Even though the Colts is now hurting ever since acquiring Patrick Mahomes. Um,
Hmm.
and real reason you're 5-0, I like to believe, and I think everybody else believes, is you finally got a running back again, bell cow running back in Dalvin Cook. Um, how has he changed your team, and how has he helped you offensively?
Well, to, I used to play a lot of touchdown to check down style of football. That's a Steve Mariucci term for you. Touchdown to check down, and when you have guys like Tyreek, you play a lot. You end up with a lot of touchdown throws instead of check down throws.
Hmm.
But Dalvin Cook's ability to really to branch out against some of these wide receivers or against some of these linebackers and man on him and in soft cover three, his ability to catch the football. He leads my team in receptions at 15. And he's not a huge yard builder, but those are huge for those third and shorts, those second and shorts,
Hmm.
um, and just having confidence in him after the catch. Now he hasn't had too many breakaway plays that guys like Kareem did when they played for the team, but him and then Swift. Swift had a good season last year in the teens for touchdowns after Sony got hurt. Um, he's averaging almost 7.5 yards per carry. So they're a good dual-headed system. Cook, obviously, I would like to kind of get him more. He's averaging only 80 yards a game, only 6 broken tackles, but um, it's a good two-headed beast there for sure. But just being able to kind of trust them more in the passing game. Sony Michel dropped a couple passes, obviously got hurt, and it caused a lot of frustration. So that's where I think the difference has been in my patience and their ability to make plays after the catch or after they break through the line of scrimmage on the runs.
Yeah, it's crazy how our boy HD Little T over there just dismantled that Minnesota team that went to the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago. But Dalvin Cook was a great pickup for you. He was actually on my radar as well when I was looking for a 1-2 kind of punch. I ended up going with Bryce Love, which I enjoyed. I filled in for the Lions once when there was a CPU team, and I enjoyed running with Bryce Love. So he was kind of my number one as far as a running back I wanted to play with. But Dalvin Cook, good pickup. Just got to worry about his injury. He's been good so far, so knock on wood on that. But
He actually got hurt. He did get hurt.
oh, he
He's
did.
at one less game. Yeah, he was hurt in the preseason, so he didn't come back until week 2.
Oh,
Um, but he's been good since. He's played 180 downs. He's looking good.
maybe you want to
100.
police
What's
that
up?
the touches he gets,
Yeah,
kind of police it a
right.
little bit.
He's at 180. Yeah, he's at 180. Swift is at 85. So
Yeah,
they're roughly splitting, 2 out of 3 carries. Definitely, as soon as he gets 1 or 2 touches in a row, I pull Cook from the game. So definitely a lot of management there for sure. But actually, Vikings came to me for Cook. I didn't approach him. He wanted to
Yeah,
sell
yeah, he was selling Cook hardcore. He came to me, he came to you. He wanted Najee Harris. I told him that's a no-go. Najee's a beast. He hasn't performed well this season, but I don't plan on getting rid of him. Let's move on to your wide receivers. A ton of speed here. Sammy Watkins, was he a 93 speed? Did he lose a little bit of speed?
No, no, he didn't lose any. He's 92. He's always been
He's
92.
always been 92. All right, I thought he was a 93 for some reason. But you got Tyreek Hill, and then you got McCole Hardman, who was actually selected by the Kansas City Chiefs in real life. Hashtag PML predicts the future. Um, how do you feel about your wide receiver situation? And you were trying to move Sammy Watkins. What was your idea there?
I think we were just shopping. From what you could see, whenever Hill and Mecole were suspended, is Colin Johnson and CeeDee Lamb, guys that I drafted last year, um, really talented. Both got some speed upgrades. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is up to like 89 or 90 speed.
Hmm.
He's all 80s in all route running. He's all 80s in all catching. He's really a really well-rounded guy. I don't even know what it keeps his overall low. He's got almost every pass catching trait. Colin Johnson, a guy that's 6'6", real solid, real talented pass catcher. I like to play him in the slot. He's got all three catch traits of aggressive possession and run after catch. He's got keep feet in bounds, so in a high motor. So him in the slot with the high passes over the linebackers that lurk a ton. I just kind of felt like I had room to move somebody, and I had forgotten that I signed Sammy to a long-term deal. I didn't know how those receivers were going to pan out, so I think that was a little short-sighted of me to give him a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because Hill was paid as well. I could see myself shopping Mecole in the future. I think he could bring back a lot of returns. Star Dev, I drafted him at 20 years old, so he's 22 now. He's up to 97 speed. Uh, just an absolutely ridiculous player, but I think at some point I'm going to run out of space. But we're really happy with them so far. They really kept me through the suspensions. Now that Hill's hurt after his first game back, I'm going to rely on that depth. So I may not give up on the depth at all, especially with no true tight end now.
Hmm.
I have Jake Butt, I have Keenan Brown from Texas State, and Jordan Wilson from UCLA, who's kind of a fringe roster guy. I'm going to need a talented receiving corps because Kelsey was my receptions leader for like 2 seasons. So.
Yeah, you liked a little bit of that high cheese with Travis Kelce over the middle, as you used to say yourself. And I see what you're saying with the wide receiver, possibly moving McCole Hardman. I know Vikings is watching, so you'll probably get a DM from him at some point. Um, but it's kind of how I looked at my team. I had a couple of guys lower overalls with a lot of speed. I mean, it's not the same situation because Hardman is actually somebody that is going to pan out to be somebody, but I started thinking, why am I carrying speed at the bottom of my depth right here when I could add a good run blocker on the outside that could hold off a corner and add extra 5 to 10 yards to an outside run instead of having somebody that's speed that doesn't really do me any favors when you got Philip Dorsett and Trevon Grimes, who I drafted this season, who both have good speed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's your thinking, but that's how I was thinking about it when I would cut somebody with speed or trade away somebody with speed because I already have a guy there that fills that role.
Right. I think that it's good depth. I mean, look at the reason that they drafted Mecole in real life is because he plays a lot like Tyreek Hill.
Hmm.
A converted corner at the University of Georgia, one of the top DB recruits out of high school. But very athletic, very talented pass catcher, very quick after the catch. Not as fast as Tyreek, but a very similar to play style. So I
Hmm.
think we're on the same track there. It's just like, you know, if I put two guys on the same field that have the same ability, right, the same kind of game plan around them, which is get the ball to them deep, open up. Well, if both of them play that role, and then the defense plays against that, well, now I have two players being effectively neutralized every play. But
Exactly.
now, if I take a guy like Sammy Watkins, who's a problem for he's going to play against your cornerback number 2, so you can't run man, right? Because he's going to beat him on every slant, every out, every comeback. Sammy Watkins is going to beat your second best corner almost every time.
Hmm.
Um, so now, sorry, I'm eating a mandarin. So now you got to play zone. Well, you can't run cover 2 because I'm going to throw a post to Tyreek Hill. It's just going to happen, you know.
Exactly.
Um, and if you do run, so then people run cover 3 and they stay in cover 3, and they scoot back all the time. But then a lot of late developing routes with a guy like, that's where Mecole's effect comes in, is late developing crossing routes. A little bit of Sammy Watkins is that too, but I don't want to. Sometimes I have a hard time throwing to Mecole. He's not the tallest guy. Tyreek's not the tallest guy. And people just key in on them. They're just so gravitational that people just pull, and it's kind of hard. And I'll take a lot of sacks because I'm just eyeing them down. But guys like CeeDee Lamb and Colin Johnson with their height, I feel comfortable throwing to them late in the play when I don't see anybody or I don't know if there's a guy underneath my route. Just give them my whole high pass. I mean, CD's 6'2", Colin's 6'6", so
Yeah.
just getting another person out there and defending on the set. So, but with the injury issues that I'm having with Hill, it might be worth keeping Mecole on the roster.
Ex-
He's on a rookie deal, second round picks, not costing me too much. So
Yeah, exactly. So, and in this situation, it really helped you out because, like you said, you have the injury, so having him there is a great backup because he's pretty much a poor man's Tyreek Hill at this point in his career. Maybe a
right,
couple.
but poor man's Tyreek Hill is still John Ross. He's still a better. I think honestly, he might be the second best deep threat. No, let me chill because there's guys like Terry McLaurin,
Yeah.
but you know he's up there.
Yeah, but you think I say poor man's Tyreek Hill, not as a diss to him, but Tyreek Hill's just on another planet.
Right.
He's just a tick below Tyreek Hill, if anything. All right, so let's move on to your offensive line. You got your left tackle here. As I could see how you're building him, I don't know if you put any work into him specifically, but I
Is this
could see
Austin Jackson that we're talking about?
right now I'm on the left tackle, Calvin Throckmorton.
Okay.
Very good in his finesse blocking. He is not a power blocker in neither the pass block or the run block. So I assume that you are focusing on a zone run, or maybe it's just as a left tackle you just want him to be good on the pass block, and the
Right.
run
Well, he
block
was a
doesn't
late.
matter.
He was a late first round pick after my first season. One of the downsides of this Chiefs team is it just wasn't real strong on the line,
Hmm.
and that's really what hurt me after I let Hunt go. But I also, I didn't have much on the line, and Hunt made up for a lot of his deficiencies, but struggled. So I spent the last 2 seasons addressing. Obviously I got the Greedy Williams pick, and that was huge for this defense as we get going on that. But on the draft picks that essentially I earned being later in the pick, I went towards the line. I took Throckmorton last year. I think he's an Oregon guy. He mainly plays right tackle for me. He's a big guy. You said he's a little bit more run blocking. So I wanted a guy over there that I felt comfortable going to the right side. Um, and then now at left tackle, I'm actually starting Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson was I want to say a fifth or sixth round pick. I didn't even. He's a rookie. Let me see where he got picked. I want to say I had signed off of the draft. Um,
It's
he was a fifth round pick. I signed off, and my team drafted him, and he's 74 overall, and I just stuck him over there. And he's a talented guy.
Yeah, he 74 overall for a rookie is definitely not bad in this league. I don't know, he's got a normal development trait, nothing big there. I'm actually confused as why you have him over at the left tackle position, given his pass blocking and how low his pass blocking is. As you see, I don't know if you have him up, but 73 pass block power 74, and pass block finesse 73. So he is not a great pass blocker. He's a little better on the run. So usually I'm a uh, I'm an old timer when it comes to football and how they build. Yeah, left tackle's usually your pass blocker, and your right tackle's usually a big mauler for the run.
Right. Right. So let's talk about some real football here. All of the top premier pass rushers in the NFL now play on the right side. Why? Because the last 10 years, people have developed in their left tackle to being a pass blocker, and your right tackle to being the run blocker. So
Exactly.
people said, you know what? Screw playing the blind side. How about we just put our best pass rusher on a dude that's not been trained to be a pass protector, but more so to be that. Not only that, people are realizing that with the rookie dominate, the new thing in the NFL is rookie contracts for quarterbacks, right? Load your team up with as much talent as you can while you're on a rookie deal. See the Chiefs, see the Seahawks, see the Rams. It's just the thing now, right? People are
hmm
realizing that once you pay the iron price for your franchise quarterback, that it starts to go downhill. But the downside for rookies and young quarterbacks is getting flustered. So people are realizing if you just put if you put Khalil Mack right in their vision, that's going to do more than having Khalil Mack come off the blind side. So you're having Khalil Mack against their worst pass blocking tackle right in the quarterback's vision, just to get in their head.
Yep.
Or I can take him out of the quarterback's vision off the blind side against the guy that they've groomed to be their pass protector. And you can't move your tackles. No NFL team can just move their left tackle to play right tackle.
hmm
So that's why I don't care too much about which one's where. And then another thing, my first round pick this year, Navon Donaldson, my right guard, superstar dev rookie from Miami, first round pick. Real talented dude in all facets of the game. Real strong, can run, protect, a talented pass blocker. And my thing was, if I'm building a wall, right, and every play I have to go either straight through that wall, to the left of that wall, or to the right of that wall, instead of making it averaged across the board, I would rather stack up all the run blocking talent on one side. That way, maybe an overcompensation
Yep.
will allow the backdoor runs. So that's why Throckmorton is playing on the right side instead of the left side. He's sitting right next to the right guard Donaldson. So now I have my two best run blockers on one side. A rangy Throckmorton, a very strong Donaldson. And we can come out and run power to the right side with a right-handed running back. So the ball's in his strong hand. And less worried about fumbles and getting hit that way, versus and then if people overcompensate, we can run left. Or if people overcompensate, maybe that takes a linebacker out of a slant lane for Tyreek Hill, who lines up on the left side. The less attention I can bring to Tyreek Hill's side of the field by running right all the damn time, the better my life is going to be with trying to open him up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. If you're gonna build a strength, might as well. If you're gonna build something, you might as well build a strength instead of building
Right.
a
Right.
average.
Right, because if you come out and they're like, fuck, Finn's going to run, if you go, all right, Finn's line is average, so he can run average in all directions, or possibly
hmm
sub-average in all directions. All right, great. But if it's like, yo, Finn is going to run right, and there's nothing you can do about it without devoting all your resources, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
it's just, I feel like that's going to open up more versus people are going to play their bets if you're only average. They're going to play their block shedding. They're going to spread their. But if you force them to put all their talented players on one side of the field, you can isolate other things. And the more people I force into the box, the more likely I am to get me, Cole, or Tyreek open deep. So that's kind of how it all kind of builds now.
Yeah,
There's the secrets, the keys to 5-0.
I like that train of thought. That's kind of I was kind of doing the same thing on defense last season when I had Blake Martinez. I would put more of my rushers next to him, and I would actually shade my line on the opposite way of Blake Martinez, because Blake Martinez was a great run stuffer, great block
Right.
shed, a great pursuit. So I could kind of leave him on his own little island, and he would be able to stop some runs for me, and I was able to address the weakness by shading everybody that way. But I
Right.
was gonna go into your offensive line as far as how you had it set up, but since you went into that, I now know that you're using both right guards. One's plugged in at left guard. Laurent Dervay, I'm not even going to pronounce LDT. He's playing left guard, and I assume Donaldson's playing right guard, or you have LDT at center. I'm not sure which way you do that.
No, I have Mitch Morse playing center, and that's really the weakness at this point. I've explored playing the third-year guy, Patrick Vahey, but I know there's something about awareness with center, so I might be able to get away with playing LDT at center. Maybe that helps out the whole awareness thing, but right now the guards are playing guard, um, for sure.
Oh,
Oh
we're
God, he just
advancing.
advanced. he just
Well,
he just advanced on me.
oh, we got to advance live, first time PML, awesome. LDT. I was gonna say if you're building a strength, I would even thinking about moving LDT to center, um,
And then yeah, you're right. That might be the move. I don't
and
think.
just screw that left side of the line. If you could beat me on that left side, more power to you. But if you better worry about that right side and up the middle.
Right, right. I think my train of thought was I do struggle with the rookie playing left tackle. So when I know I'm in pass protection, if I shade left, I know that maybe I can get a double team with LDT, and then I don't have to worry too much about the left guard getting demolished. But that might be the move to make.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the defense. You got two ends here. You got Breland Speaks on one end, and then you got Dylan Moses on the other. Dylan Moses is in his second year, and he's at 82 overall. Great speed. So my guess is based on the strength and the speed, you run a 4-3. Am I right? Or you
I
run
run
both?
multiple. I
All
run a
right, you run
multiple.
multiple.
So Dylan is not the starter in the 3-4. That is Ben Banogu. Um, I don't know if he's technically an end in my defense. He might be an outside linebacker. Um, I have him at left end. Ben Banogu, TCU guy. I drafted him real quiet. I think it was the same draft that I grabbed Greedy Williams. But the big thing about Ben, obviously, the 71 acceleration is kind of a bummer, but 84 speed, but he's got 86 block shed, and 82 finesse moves. So for me, that was a little bit more important
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the 3-4 set. The focus there is to stop the run, um, you're not losing much with your pass rush, right? With the finesse moves, so the acceleration is not there. So against mobile guys like Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson, Ben ends up not really seeing the field too much. That's when a guy like in pass rushing downs, Dylan Moses, will come in, and with the
Mm-hmm.
87 speed, I feel way more confident about him tracking down, and he's got solid finesse move, but like low or high 60s in the block shed. But Moses is and he won the game for the Cowboys for me because with just how fast he is and how tall he is. I think he's about 6'3". Yeah, he's 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I did is I blitzed the linebackers off the right side and the corner off the right side. Had my middle linebacker go shade that way in a purple zone, and then I dropped into coverage with Dylan Moses off the line of scrimmage. And Anthony didn't see it, and I picked him off to seal the game. And that's just something that he provides is a very Matthew Judon type player. Very talented in coverage. He's got solid hit power, solid pursuit angles, very athletic guy. So good agility. So the ability to drop back in coverage and kind of throw people off is what I really like about Dylan.
Yeah, he's got good zone and good man. And that pursuit is key over there with 91. As you said, I could see now that both the reason why you would bring Bruce Irvin in. Looking at your left ends, I mean, Breland Speaks doesn't have great speed. He has good acceleration, but he doesn't have the real speed for it. It seems like all your speed is at that right end position, and you probably plug and pull them as they come. Because you got Bruce Irving here with 86 speed and 88 acceleration. So when you are playing that Kyler Murray or Dak Prescott or somebody that's gonna be running around back there, I see where you plug and pull these guys in. Now that you explained it a little bit, let's move on to your defensive tackle. One guy I actually wanted to talk to you about acquiring a while ago, but you re-signed him. Chris Jones is an absolute animal in real life. I've only played you once. I think he had a sack or two. How is he in Madden? Just for my sake of knowing.
So about week 15 last year, I found out that my formation subs were glitched, and that Chris Jones was taken out of the field in nickel and dime. So for 12 weeks or so, Chris Jones didn't play in nickel, and I'm a nickel-heavy defense, and I never noticed it. I legit did not notice that Chris Jones wasn't playing. He's like a top 5 defensive tackle in the league. He's an animal. He's really important. You talked about Breland Speaks' speed earlier. Last year I tried something with nickel where I had Chris Jones, and that may have been what had caused the issue. But I had plans to do Chris Jones and then move Breland Speaks inside to play right next to him, with both of them having high 80s block shed, both of them being talented pass rushers, both of them being kind of on the heavier side. Breland Speaks, I believe, is a converted interior lineman to edge. I thought that would be good, but I guess something went wrong. Chris Jones didn't play all year. But I definitely noticed him. I feel really happy with my run defense a lot. I feel like I really make guys work for it, and I think he's the big part of that. He doesn't exactly light it up in sacks. I'm not a real sack-heavy team, but he gets good pressure. But really his impact is on run defense.
Yeah, and I could kind of see that too as you go down to the other defensive tackles you have. You really focus, besides Austrian Robinson, who seems more of a speed rusher in the middle, you really seem to focus on block shedding, and that is usually the number one key to run stuffing is the block shedding and coming off a block and getting into the backfield and being able to stop a run. And I could see that you focus on that with Vince Valentine, and you got Derek Noddy. Yeah, so it'd be Noddy. So I could kind of see what you do there. You got Chris Jones, who could rush in the middle, but then you got Derek Noddy and Vince Valentine, who could play next to him and be really a good run stuffer right on the side of Chris Jones when you do run that 4-3.
If you look at Isaiah Buggs as well, who's 6'5", he plays left end, 6'5", 286 pounds. He's 83 block shedding. So if you consider him an interior lineman, which is where I play him, you have to go down. You have Chris Jones, Noddy, Valentine, and then Buggs, and then the lowest pass block shed out of those guys is Buggs at 83. And some guys' best block shedder is 83. So you can see that my big thing is getting those big boys in there. Buggs has got some speed, some ranginess, stop the run at all costs. Especially as we get further into the defense, the secondary that we have is built to play right behind all these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in PML, very good user linebackers. A lot of guys like to focus on a run, stay away from throwing the ball into zone coverages and risk getting it picked off. I mean, you could be the best passer in the game. Some of these guys are just too darn good where they're gonna get you at some point. So you got to be kind of wary when it comes to throwing the ball. So building run stuffing kind of defense is a good way to look at it. That's kind of how I was looking at it with my defense when I was running a 3-4. I had three defensive tackles pretty much as my down linemen, and my edge rushers were my outside linebackers who could also drop into coverage. Um,
Hmm.
let's go ahead and move on to your linebackers, like you were saying. I see Reggie Ragland here. You're one of the better users in the league, so having a guy like Reggie Ragland who doesn't have the greatest speed, he has good acceleration, good agility. Um, he looks like a great run stuffer on at that left side outside linebacker, and you're such a good user that he could play in coverage when you're using him. Um, just go into that your thought process. You could go into all your linebackers, Hitchens, and then you got Van Noy on the other side. I don't know if you play him as much.
Yeah, Raglan, the case for Raglan is he's so talented, but with his lack of true pass rush moves, and his lack of coverage, really kind of irks me away from using him in the 3-4. In 3-4, I want my guys to be real rangy,
Hmm.
my middle linebackers to be real rangy. And the whole concept of the 3-4 is when you're blitzed, you don't know who's coming. So if you have a linebacker that is in the 50s for their pass rushing moves, people aren't going to believe that he's coming, or they're not going to
Hmm.
care if he is one of the ones blitzing. But the block shedding and the pursuit being in the high 80s is nice, high hit power. He really gets his role when I switch to 4-3 and he plays as a traditional 4-3 outside linebacker.
Hmm.
That's where he really finds his value for me. Um, and I've always felt like in Madden, if you can play 3 downs in your base defense, then you're doing something right. Um, Anthony Hitchens has won himself. I think he's won best linebacker in this league before. Um, I'll check real quick, but Hitchens is a guy that's got good speed. He caught 12 touchdowns for me. Um, Best linebacker. If not, he definitely won a Pro Bowl. Um, Stephon Anthony, he's another guy that gets super underutilized in my defense. I got him to star dev. He's got 87 speed, 84 hit power, and I just don't use him. And I don't know why I don't use him. Um, but definitely one of the underrated part of my defense is the linebackers. We brought back Joseph Jones. He got 6 interceptions for me my first season. He's a 6 foot tall guy, but he's got 87 speed, good acceleration. You know, Maybe it's a mental thing as to why I like using him more than I like using Stephon Anthony, but a lot, big range guys like Raglan that can come in and really plug and play and stop the defense. And then once we get to nickel, being real confident and being able to use her whichever one of them that I want to use her. And then even sometimes, since I drafted in the first round Marcelino Ball, the rookie strong safety, sometimes I'll bring him down into the box in the nickel and the dime formations, and I'll user him around. So trying to get more speed back there because everybody's got speed now. So Reggie Ragland really finds himself kind of strung out. So to have to take an 86, 87 overall guy and bench him for 3/4 of your defensive plays kind of hurts the heart a little bit.
Hmm.
But when he's in, you feel it, and he's got 3 interceptions on the year, so it's not like he can't hold his own in pass coverage.
Yeah, and that's something I noticed with your team, kind of leaning on the other way as far as your pass coverage. Um, you don't have a specific guy in here that you could kind of leave alone for the computer to handle. None of your linebackers have top tier coverage. I mean, Stephon Anthony has your best coverage at 77 when it comes to zone. Everybody else is either low 70s, 72 for Hitchens, but then everybody else is in the 60s when it comes to coverage. So that could kind of hurt you in a little bit if, in my thinking, if you're not using them, it kind of hurts
Right.
you.
And that's what I do when I put Ball. Ball has 82 zone, 81 man, 91 speed. So I'll
Yeah.
very often move him up in nickel to play sub linebacker, and then I'll just use the other linebacker, and then I don't really have to worry too much about ball. He can kind of hold his own coverage.
And now that plays to the fact the fact that you said I like to run a nickel. That's your go-to your formation, and that's exactly why, because you could leave ball alone in coverage and use that other linebacker. So that makes sense as far as strategy. Um, let's go ahead and move on to your corners. You have some good corners over here. Kendall Fuller, who's not the fastest, but he seems like he gets the job done. Only 26 years old, 91 overall. Then you have Greedy Williams, who actually is a 95 speed now. I'm pretty sure he came into the league at a 93.
Yep.
Maybe you got some speed rolls there, and then you got Jalen Johnson, who is a sophomore at 95 speed with good size as well. Just going to your corners, just a quick little thing on how you feel about them and all that.
Yeah, obviously Greedy and Fuller are kind of the focal point. Another thing I realized halfway through last season is that I thought Fuller was a press corner, and I think that's his brother. That is a press corner. He's only got 80 press, so I was wondering why I was just getting so dominated. Specifically against the Ravens, I think Willie Snead burnt Kendall Fuller about 5 times. I was so confused at the speed difference and why Fuller was getting toasted, and then I realized, oh, he's not a press corner. I thought he had like 90 press. It was 80. So I was like, well, that will change a lot of what I do. And this year the focus has been whenever I pull up people press, because Greedy very much is a press corner. He's sitting at what's his press at?
89.
89, right? He's very much a press corner. He's a big, tall guy, so even if he does get burnt, he has the length to kind of make up for it. So I make sure when I press that I go and I use her Fuller and I move him back about 5 feet. And then now I think he leads the team in deflections and is back to playing good football. Johnson is kind of a luxury. He was an undrafted free agent. I kind of pride myself on the defense, being able to like let guys go like Houston, right? Let Justin Houston go, and then you look at guys like Dylan Moses, who within a season and a half are really kind of playmaking guys. Now Houston was good in his own right, and but being able to take these late round guys on little contracts when I'm really struggling with cap space, and get a 7th round pick and an undrafted free agent, Jalen Johnson, in the starting rotation, and guys that help solve some of the riddles of some of these defenses. A 95 speed corner at 6 foot tall, it's really good. I would like him to be a little bit better, but when I'm in the nickel, I run a lot of zone, and really just his speed and his athleticism really makes up for a lot. So I think he had a fairly good season last year. I want to say upwards of 5+ interceptions, and he had 6. Yeah, so looking for more of the same. Sometimes you'll see PJ Williams kind of earn snaps over him. PJ had a nice pick 6 earlier this year, or for what a pick 6 was close. He's faster, or not faster, but fast enough to handle. He's a little bit more comfortable in press. So it's all dependent on who's playing slot against me this week. If you have a speedy guy that's going to abuse me, I'll put Johnson out there, and if I'm looking at a bigger guy, which I have to be more physical with, we'll play PJ. But that's where we're at with the cornerbacks. Nobody else really plays.
Yeah, and like I said, a good speed there. They all have good coverage too, 76, 79. I mean, it's not great coverage, but it's good enough to plug and pull out there.
I mean, even my 5th corner is 93 speed, 80 zone.
Yeah.
So I'm not in bad shape at cornerback.
No, not at all, especially with having the mix of speed and also guys that you could have in there for just their coverage skills, like Kendall Fuller. I mean, he's not slow, but he can get toasted when you have a 96 speed wide receiver coming at him. Press is a good thing. AJ Boye, I'm running into issues with AJ Boye because his speed is 89, but he has the 89 press, so he's able. I like to I like to be that a defense that comes up and presses you, and hope that my pass rush gets there before anybody really breaks open. Let's move on to your safeties. You already talked about Marcelino Ball, who you picked, and pretty much put him in a nickel. Go ahead and dive into your other safeties and give us your ideas there. And I see Eric Berry's injured, so that's a tough hit.
Yeah, he's coming back. You know, my move to have Ball play in the box kind of took a hit when Barry got hurt, because now I needed my safeties to play safety, play it back. I'm in trouble here soon because Poyer and Barry are both older, and they're going to be losing speed. So it's kind of hurt my cover 2 defense a little bit, because they both used to be really rangy guys, but that's not the case anymore.
Hmm.
And cover 2, like, I have these really talented corners, and then they're just playing in the flat. So you don't, you almost limit their ability to make plays. So trusting my defense to play a lot more man, blitzing a lot with Poyer. I've even moved Poyer up into the box to play some sub linebacker and move Ball back. I think the really important part of the team is the development of Ball and the development of Winfield Jr. 95 speed for Winfield. Another guy I drafted at 20. I haven't put a lot of dev into him, so it's kind of been my fault, but he does have normal, so it's not, or he's got quick, but it's not really much. So I probably should have been putting on my podcast attribute points into Winfield.
Hmm.
But the 81 Excel kind of hurts your heart a little
Yeah.
bit. He's played well. If you average it out, I'm looking at around a 90. I consider it to be 90 speed. I don't look at him and go, oh, he should be 95. With the 81 Excel, I say, all right, well, let's just pretend he's 90 speed and call it a day. They play well, but normally it's Poyer that's making the game-saving plays. He had a sack last week that kind of really helped out a ton, and some really big pass deflections. But as those guys get older, I really need to be careful about what I'm doing on defense in terms of my safety play, unless Ball develops nicely. Once again, he's in the 80s in coverage, so I think I have my long-term answer at free safety. Box safety is going to be the real question.
Yeah, and you just mentioned bringing in Poyer as a sub linebacker and having Ball out there as your safety, and being that deep coverage kind of guy. It makes a lot more sense in my eyes, because Poyer's got 84 speed, which is decent enough for a somebody that's at linebacker. And he's also got the great zone coverage and man coverage. So he seems to be the even better fit at that sub linebacker. Even with the good pursuit and everything, he seems like if he has to put his nose in there to stop a run, and he could cover whenever you really need him to. You don't have to favor him. You could still use that linebacker. But like you were saying with Eric Berry, definitely a tough hit to go through, and he is losing a lot of speed. He's at an 86 now. You're definitely gonna have to address that at one point, but hopefully Winfield, hopefully you get some acceleration rolls, because even that agility is atrocious at 78. Right. A lot of people don't pay attention to that in the draft. I looked at the 40 speed, but I also look at the 3-cone and all that, just to make sure that I'm not drafting somebody that's a 93 speed but 75 acceleration. It doesn't do anything for you, if you ask me. It's pretty much a guy that's like 89 speed, or like you said, 90 speed, and it doesn't really do a big thing for you. But like you said, you definitely need to address that coming up, either in free agency or in the draft. Well, we're all almost done with Madden 19 anyway. Right. I mean, we won't go into the kickers and punters.
No need. We don't punt much.
Humble brag.
Haven't missed a field goal, so we got that going for us.
Another humble brag. Don't be humble. Another thing I've noticed though, before I move on, yeah, your other safety, Watts, has good coverage skills as well, 85 speed and 87 acceleration. So even when you don't have one of these safeties to plug in at sub, you still have Watts that I think could plug in there, especially if you know they're actually passing the ball. Um,
Right. The
73
point
pursuit.
is, right. My bad. I'm going to cut you off. But the point is for us is just everybody should serve a role, right? So Kyle Van Noy, he's not the best at really anything at all, but he's got some decent speed. He's got some decent pursuit. He's going to be a solid special teamer, right? I don't like having wasted space on the team. Got Traymon Smith, 92, 93 speed. That's going to be special teams. And one of the underrated things about this game is the ability to pump block or kick return. Sorry, not pump block, but punt returns and kick returns and stuff like that. And injuries, man. So yeah, you're right. Like Armani Watts, a slower guy at safety, 85 speed, but good coverage. Isaiah Buggs, like I mentioned, fourth string defensive lineman, but he has 83 block shed. Bruce Irvin, fourth string defensive end, has 86 speed,
Hmm.
80 plus block shed. Um, you know, all these guys are, PJ Williams, fourth string corner. He's got 80s coverage. So that way, if we get hurt at any point, we want to be extremely malleable. I want everybody to be able to contribute. That's just going to make life easier down the road.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of it reminds me a little bit of the Patriots approach to it as far as building. You could plug and pull whenever you want, and I mean you'll take a little bit of a hit, but you won't take much of a hit because the way you built the team. Um,
Hmm.
it's I commend you for your team build here, especially that defensive line is really underrated as far as all that block shed and being able to stuff the run. Um, if it's kind of late for me, I got to get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. We
Um,
did some really in-depth stuff. So
yeah, I enjoyed deep diving into your team, really getting your insight, your looks, and it's gonna help me when I build my team. Uh, Hearing you talk about it, having some different insight is gonna contribute to what I do on my team. Maybe I start building my offensive line heavy on one side and you know attack just that side and see what happens. But it's been a pleasure, Finn. You've been a great guest. Um, you're my first guest, so if you want to hang that up on your wall, it's gonna be worth a lot of money one day.
yeah,
Um, but it's been a pleasure talking to you. I was on the podcast. Thank you for coming on here, and maybe we'll have you on again soon, and we could probably talk about my team a little bit.
works for me, man. I'm excited for Madden 20. I think this is a really good show to do, and you can refine it up and get it down, get the formula down to what you find really works, and then I think it'll be a good kind of counterpart. One of the things that we get criticism on the podcast is we don't talk about the league in depth as much, um, and you do a good job at deep diving and looking at the same screens everybody else is looking at, but also kind of freshening it up and making it easy to listen to. So in the podcast, we don't like doing that. We just like kind of kicking it, talking shit, talking football, talking Madden. So these kind of things. I think these are going to be huge. If you can get Anthony on here, Fallen on here, SGO on here, and listen to how they build teams, I think that's going to be huge for some of the guys that are at the bottom of the league
Hmm.
that need to figure out how do we do it. So as long as there's no hold bar, nothing held back, you know. And I'm sure you're gonna find guys that build extremely differently than I do,
Yeah,
especially on
exactly.
the line side.
Everybody has their outlook on it. Like we were talking about the offensive line. I'm a traditionalist, and as far as left tackle, right tackle, um, I'm kind of stuck in the past, and everybody's evolving to the future, and I'm still thinking about what it's traditionally built as. Um, but like you said, everybody's got their own little scheme, their own little idea of how to build a team perfectly. No team's perfect, but everybody's got their idea of it. Hopefully I get SGO on here. That's a highly doubtful. But like you said, it's going to help teams that are at the bottom of the barrel really build their team if they pay attention, and it'll also help opponents that play you. They know what to expect a little bit if they watch this video. Um, but it's like I said, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and hopefully we could do this again sometime.
Sure, bud.
All right, this is Nefarious. That's Finn, and we are over and out.